Hello and welcome to the Cheeseman Podcast. This is Brendan, your host for the show. What a win. What scenes, what limbs against Sheffield United on the weekend. And we're joined by two people who are at the game. First up, it's great to have her back, is Becky. How are you doing, Becky?
Hello. Yeah, I'm a bit croaky still. Voice is just about kind of coming back. Yeah, limbs and a half. And it was just amazing. I don't think I could cope with that every game, to be honest. But yeah, it was amazing. Can't wait to talk about it.
Well, let's see. Also joined by James. How are you doing, James?
Yeah, pretty good. Only been awake about an hour and a half, so that's been fun. I took a cheeky afternoon nap, which turned out to be like 4 hours, so that was fun. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about a game that was had me swearing in two different ways, which was a change.
Also at the game is joining us from Podcast Land is Mr. Paul Muir. How you doing, Paul?
Yeah, good. I'm a bit like Becky. If you listened to the podcast over the weekend, my voice was going. I'm just about getting it back today. But yeah, I mean, that was just watching some of the videos back today and some of the crowd reaction and some of the more rawer kind of videos from the crowd was just brilliant. So yeah, looking forward to talking about it again.
So Becky, I'm assuming obviously that you stayed till the end because only an idiot would leave a game early when there's goals still to be had. So what was it like in your part of the ground for the first and second goals? Was it just mayhem?
Yeah, I've said on Twitter yesterday, it reminded me of the Sporting Lisbon game where you just sort of hugged everybody and anybody and whoever was nearby. And obviously Saturday's game was a better outcome. We won that game, but still to this day, don't really know why that Sporting goal was offside. But yeah, everybody, and like just the pure elation I've put on Twitter that we've waited a long time for chaos like that and like hysteria almost. And yeah, and like I'm saying there, Paul's the same. I've spent most of yesterday just watching back. You know, you get those kind of the miseries that's like, oh, you shouldn't film anything at a game and yada yada. But if you don't, we don't get to see all that sort of stuff. Because obviously, people at home get to see that. We don't see that in the stadium. We can only see like snippets of bit because obviously there's people and things. So watching back, just like things like Vicario running the length of the pitch and Basuma going down with cramp and then Madison feigning cramp. And yeah, I just absolutely love it. I could watch it all day, keep going. Yeah, it was amazing. It was just such a great atmosphere, different atmosphere to United, but it was a different sort of game than Man United. Yeah, absolutely awesome. Loved it.
Yeah, Paul, what was it like post game? Like, were you dancing along the high road? Did you stick around the ground for a while? What was your end of game?
12 minutes we score. I've went off. I mean, I shouldn't behave like that. I should know better. I'm just jumping down guys. I'm a big guy. And I just jumped on this guy's shoulders, and he was carrying me, and it was like guys in my section were all jump up and down. It was great, and then the music comes on, na 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 na, and just it's like the darts. Everybody just starts going exactly, but everybody just starts going, and then like. Richie is mobbed first by Dyer. I said this during the pod that Dyer was the first person onto Richie doing the head banging on the head, pretend punching him like Romero does with people, and then everybody gets around Richie, and then obviously Sheffield end they go over, say thanks for coming all the way down, and off you go kind of thing, and then everybody's still in the south. I mean. So many times last season it would empty out about 10, 15 minutes to go, and there'd be like a couple of thousand people left, which is horrible to look at that massive, beautiful piece of architecture and have it like a fifth full. It's quite embarrassing, but that didn't happen at the weekend. And then they all got in this kind of like this kind of line, and
you could tell something was happening because I looked and it was like something's happening. There's some of them are holding hands and some of them are holding hands, and you could tell they were kind of all waiting, whether it was premeditated, but you could tell there was sort of, we've got to wait until everyone's here. And then I didn't see it at the time, but I saw Basuma jumping onto the crossbar, so I sort of filmed it. But I was seeing it back on TV with him, like you said, Son pushing Richarlison to the front and making sure that Richarlison kind of took the credit, and then like right at the end with the free from Desire, Postecoglou comes over, doesn't he? And he kind of starts doing like this with it as well.
It's just a sense of togetherness, and I don't want to hark back to Pochettino, but he's the one that brought us all a bit closer back to the club. And it feels like we're getting a bit like that again. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background with the club. We all know that. We're all pretty tuned into what's going on. But as I keep saying, if you can't enjoy moments like that, then football, I don't think is for you. I just don't think it's for you. And there is something about being in a place with 20, 30, 40,000 people all feeling the same emotion. It's like a really good gig or a concert, a festival, James would know, or you're at Brixton Academy down the road from me now, and I saw Kasabian, and we were just all as one. It was an amazing night, and it was very similar to that on Saturday. Everybody was just on a vibe, and it was great. It was absolutely superb. And Becky's absolutely right. We've been waiting for that for what, Beck, 2-3 seasons? So yeah, more of it, please. More of it. And just drink it in when you can. Just drink it in when you can.
Yeah, just watching it out here in Brazil as well. The commentary, because it was quite a strange game, and we'll go through how the game panned out. Into this, I don't think we played that badly. I really did think we played quite well in that game. It was just one of those annoying ones that did actually work out in the end. But the commentary, like, they were so happy for Richarlison. They were just because they're saying, look, he's flown out to the national team, didn't get a goal against Peru, didn't get one. I think it was Bolivia was the other game. They saw him crying. He has come out talking about his emotional, his mental health problems, which is great that he's being open about it, and it should be celebrated. But they were just so happy. They were just so happy for him. And when he got the assist as well, and as you were saying, to see Sonny push him to lap it up, because he didn't want to. He could tell, and then he was like, okay, I should enjoy this. And you should enjoy it, as we all did. James, what was it like? Were you watching it? You said you had a dodgy stream. Did it come through the noise? Because the noise that came through was insane.
Kind of. It was a bit quiet because, totally watched the game legally. I just, flew over to France to watch it. I don't speak French, so couldn't understand the commentary too well. But the noise was amazing. I was actually watching it in the living room, and the last guy who lives in my house that was moving in, who's an Arsenal fan, and he literally walked into the living room as we scored the winner. And anyone who's on the group chat knows I had some quite exciting words to say after that, and I said that times 10 in person. But yeah, no. The weird thing was, I didn't feel like we were out of the game. Even when we went 1-0 down, I still thought we can get something here. I mean, I was a little bit annoyed with our front line, but I still thought we could get a point or a win. And then as soon as that equaliser went, and I thought, yeah, we're going to win now. It's just going to happen, which is, a complete contrast to last season, where if we went 1-0 down, I'd have shut the game off because I know how it's going to end. But this season, there's just that little bit more belief, even when we go behind, which is, it's really special. That.
Yeah, I think we'll get into the game now then, Becky. I think one of the reasons why everyone stuck around for that 12 minutes was that we could anticipate that we could get something. It's not like it was under Conte or Mourinho where we go 1-0 down and we don't have a solution. We were trying. I thought that we played really well. We created chances. I'm not sure, maybe you have stats on the number of shots we had, but it really didn't feel like we were out of the game at any point. And tell me what you thought of the patterns of play, the opening sort of exchanges in the game.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. My position in 250 is row 21. I'm kind of just sort of like that. So you really see how much this season, how much further up the pitch they are. Even when Højbjerg came on, because like James was just saying about the substitutions at the end, we finished the game with Perisic and Royal and Højbjerg, Richarlison. But just even Højbjerg was playing so much further up the pitch, and watching back on Sunday, I didn't realise that he was the one who made the corner. He's the one who's kind of basically in the 18-yard box, heads it and goes out for a corner, and that's where we equalised from. But that kind of the patterns of play they're just so much more fluid. And yeah, we had 28 shots, and it felt like we had 28 shots. The keeper he spent quite a lot of the time on the floor, but when he wasn't on the floor, he was saving chances that we did have. There was one from Basuma in the first half. Son had one, Sarr had one, Kulusevski had about 4. It was that sort of idea where there were all these sort of chances, and it's exactly the same. Is that having the 12 minutes of injury time, and it just felt like it was just relentless. And that's the way that they're going to continue to play. So all the players that came on that maybe last season would have played in a more sort of defensive way about things. This season, they know what they've got to do, you know. And I thought Sarr was quite tired towards the end. Basuma was tiring. Maddison was tiring, even though Maddison didn't play the second England game. But the equaliser just completely sort of regenerated that. And I was watching back yesterday. I managed to catch it from like 85 minutes to the end, and you see like the kind of the renewed vigor from Maddison. You know, he's kind of moving around a bit quicker, and they had that kind of almost like that sort of extra drive to kind of get them to the finishing line. And you know, I think someone tweeted yesterday that all of Richarlison's goals have been headers. I know he hasn't scored that many, but obviously the 2 against Marseille were headers. He scored a header again. A lot of his offsides have been headers, and you know, it was just the perfect corner from Perisic, and the place went absolutely nuts. But you know, alluding to what you're saying then about him saying about his mental health problems, he didn't rip off his shirt and run. He turned immediately back to the centre circle to go again. And that's, I think, why when they did sort of, even if it had finished 1-1, I think we still would have obviously wanted to win, but they still would have given Richarlison some of the credit because, you know, it's a big deal for him. And I remember the relief on his face when he scored at Fulham. And it's this sort of, you know, he's sort of seeing it as a team thing now and not just individually about him. And I think Sonny said yesterday that he wanted Richarlison to score more than he did and things like that. And it's just the kind of things that they're saying about them being a team is just, it's really great to see. And when we bring in on substitutions and they continue to play in that same way, because as also I said at the game, the recent substitutions that we've all made, I said this last week, is that it's just been to kind of see the game out. We didn't have to do that this time. These substitutions had to go and win the game or at least equalise. So it was a different sign of way of the substitutions. And, you know, to see players that would have been playing Conte's way last year to play this way, come on as sub in that atmosphere, wanting to kind of get the win, which I think we did fully deserve. We had the most, you know, the most possession, we had 71% possession, something like 600 passes. And it felt like that. If you watch that, I think I'm on about the 50th watch of the Kulusevski goal, is the kind of interplay right from where they kind of close down the keeper to try and press on the keeper, and then Udogie makes that interception, and then the kind of interplay from Højbjerg, and then it was just lovely to watch. And you can hear in the crowd that sort of anticipation of that as it's getting nearer and nearer and nearer, and something's going to happen. And that's why it went absolutely nuts when it went in.
Yeah. Well, Paul, on Becky said there about the interplay, and she's right. Like just the way that we're playing, the patterns of play, like this. I don't know if the slide rule pass is the one that the right term for it, but a lot of passes we're sort of doing sort of parallel. Does that make any sense? Where we're trying to sort of through the eye of a needle, and sometimes it doesn't come off, but when it does, it looks incredible.
Yeah.
So you got Manuel Solomon. I thought was really, really good. I think Manuel Solomon is perfect for Ange Ball at the moment. And you've got obviously Kulusevski, and they're both staying really, really wide. So that allows the inside thread ball, which I think you're talking about, inside a fullback, and then that allows you to run on. Yeah, and we do that really, really well. Destiny Udogie does it superbly. He does. He's a very, very good footballer, and I can't believe sometimes he plays for us at the minute. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, the interplay, and it's also what you find that with the fullback pushing into midfield and our wide attackers staying wide, that allows a bit more space for Maddison to come across and make a triangle. And we all know that Maddison's really cute on the football. I mean, his turning circle is so quick with ball either left or right. So we play these like nice little triangles, even like in our final, even in our defensive third. No one hoofs it straight up and ask Son to like fight for a ball he's never going to win. We try and play it on the deck. You know, we try and play these little triangles, try and play these like 1 or 2 touch stuff, and it's fantastic. And it's just the understanding. I mean, he's done this in less than 3 months.
Yeah.
One of my clients was saying today, he's done this in less than 3 months. These players have okay. He's got a generational talent, not generational. Excuse me. He's got a great talent in Maddison, and he has a very, very good left fullback in Udogie that Conte didn't have last season. But the rest of them, those people, they were there. And what he's done now, he's allowed this. He's created a framework, but he's allowing people to express themselves. The ball came into Porro. let it go through his legs, or he did a turn, and the guy just went like he went into a different postcode, Brendan, and slipped, and then Poirot was right. I mean, that kind of stuff. If I'd assume that was banned last season or the season before, because Conte didn't want the Parmesan Pulis didn't want that kind of thing to happen. It's just like, and there's freedom they're playing within, and these interplays, and they're given license to be brave on the football, to dare us to do, and you can see that with certain players that you wouldn't expect it to be. Like Sarr, as Becky alluded to 5 minutes ago, was everywhere. He doesn't only just play on that right hand side; he plays everywhere. They've got such an understanding of what they're supposed to do and where other people are in that framework, and it'll get found out at times. It might get found out the weekend. I don't think it will, but it might do. But so what? At least we're trying to not bore opponents to death. We scored 2 goals in every game, minimum 2 goals every game this season. I mean, and we're creating, was it Becky, 27 shots, 28 shots? I mean, come on. If you don't like that, then you're not watching the right sport. But I digress.
James, from a tactical side, like Paul was saying there, the freedom that they're playing with. Like, there was a moment where, like, he touched on the Porro turn, which was exquisite, which got the crowd going, which is what we want to see as Spurs fans. But there was a bit, I think it was maybe 2 minutes after, where he was picking it up on the left, and he'd come completely over. It was almost as if they're saying, right, you cover the spaces. So he felt confident that someone was covering his space so that he could go in and help in a situation, help in an attack in a part of the pitch that's nowhere near where he's supposed to be. What do you make of the tactical side of Saturday's game?
Well, it's classic Ange ball. In a way, it's very simple. It's what you would naturally assume football is. It's these little neat passing triangles to maximise passing opportunities that you see. I mean, the Dutch teams in the 70s are doing that. But then equally, we're letting guys rotate freely with space, as long as someone else is picking up said position. It's very simple positional play, which last season you almost saw fragments of, but it was nobody had that much freedom. And I think that when you give talented football players a lot of freedom, they will do better. As long as there's an underlying tactical structure, they're not going to suddenly be 10 of them up front like you might see an under-7s game, right? I just thought it was classic Ange. I mean, midfield completely dominated the game. I thought, we played out from the back really well. They had nothing. I mean, they lined up in a way which was always going to be a tad difficult for us to break down. But yeah, we just dominated and bossed the game. And I think the only area we really struggled a little bit was that final third for a while. But even then, I think we should have scored before they did, honestly. I just think too often their low block, we on another day we score early on and then it's a different game and then we batter them 6-0. It's just one of those ones, I think. But yeah.
The other thing as well, I think that's the game in the past we did lose.
Yeah.
All this manager of the month business and all of that, having a fairly decent start in August. We have had that before, even when Kane wasn't scoring in August. But it's a game where I think Alistair Gold said yesterday that 77 minutes or whatever it was, we go 1-0 down. The atmosphere goes quite toxic. The kind of playing it sideways, backwards stuff, or lumping it to Kane, or if Son's not fit and he can't get the runs, you just didn't feel there was something to come. But because the way they play so differently and they're so much quicker, I think almost every person they've signed apart from Maddison this season I haven't heard of, but they all seem to have the same profile, that they're really, really quick. Mickey van der Ven, we haven't talked about him. There were a couple of times where he would go and get kind of some last-ditch challenges, and he just runs. He's just so quick. And these are all players, we said this last week, they've only just really arrived here, and they feel like they've been playing in the Premier League for such a long time. But that's a game, the Sheffield United go 1-0 down, that we've lost in the past. And, the way there was this kind of hope that we would be able to kick on. And you hear it in the commentary as well. They're all saying, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium can feel another goal. They're hungry for another goal. And you can, and that all kind of comes from a kind of the team spirit and the culture and, the atmosphere, the crowd. And everything's just in a really positive place. And Paul's right. There will be times where it won't work. I said this last week. But I think even when we went behind at Burnley, it's this idea that we can score, we will score, and hopefully it isn't always in the with 12 minutes of injury time, but it's always this idea that they understand the process of what they've got to do, and you just said then, I think Mickey van der Ven said that he's been told that you're allowed to try things and it doesn't matter if it goes wrong. I said last week, Kulusevski was interviewed in the international break, and he talked about how he's really enjoying this season because, you know, he scored twice as well, because he scored, and he kind of was non-existent last season. I know there were parts of the game when he was injured, but as soon as he moved more into the middle on Saturday, that's where he sort of played for Sweden. It was just the perfect kind of change up. So, and now we're kind of going backwards and forwards and two things, but when Mickey van der Ven went off and Udogie went left centre back, it was like, oh, what's going on here? So we've talked before about centre backs down, and we all think it would be Davis that would play there, but Udogie played there. So knowing that almost every player we've got at the moment has got like a multiple position to play, so like Son's on the left or he's in the middle, or Kulusevski's going to go in the middle, or Udogie. That's what's really refreshing. That it isn't just this rigid, you play there and you don't play anywhere else kind of system.
Oh,
we've got some really intelligent thinking players as well. I was watching at the weekend. We're working problems out. We are beginning to like adapt and improvise a little bit to what's in front of us. You know, teams will come, Everton, Luton, when they come to us, these kind of teams, they will like do this mid to low block. They'll put 5 across the middle. They'll probably put 4 across the middle. Probably put 5 at the back, and they'll probably have somebody up front. Hopefully not in mismatching multicolored boots like McBurney was at the weekend. But anyway, we digress from that. But we worked it out. Yes, it was hard work. Yes, it came from a little bit of like, shall we say, dead ball delivery. But what a ball in from Perisic. Perisic has done that. He's come on the last couple of games, and he'll face you up at the edge of the box, and he'll take you either inside and put on his right, and he'll deliver a curling ball, because that's the scar, or he'll take you to the outside and dink a ball to the back post. He will get across it. The guy's a fantastic dead ball striker, but we are working stuff out on the hoof to get around these teams and also there wasn't any panic. The ref lost control. We'll probably come on the ref.
Let's do it now. Let's do it now. Just do the ref.
Sorry. I thought the ref lost control from about 54, 55 minutes in, so about 68 minutes. Wasn't there back? There's about a 10 or 15 minute. Probably came across the TV as well that he didn't have a Scooby what he to do. He didn't. He was like the drop ball situation. It was farcical. It was a farcical what he was trying to do. Maddison was getting wound up, and that affected Maddison for 20 minutes. Maddison got a booking for basically doing this dramatic. It's a bit stupid from James, to be honest. He dropped down on his haunches and he mowed, and then the ref just turned around and didn't even look at him and just almost like just have it. Yeah, yellow card, go away, leave me alone. The ref lost it. I think that affected us.
I said earlier on that the goalkeeper getting booked for handball changed it as well, because people behind me were going, he needs to be booked second time for time wasting. I was like, he's been booked for handball. He's not going to get a second booking. That sometimes happens to someone messing about with a throw-in. It's a kind of a player that's not necessarily essential. They are not going to do that with a goalkeeper. So him being booked for kind of flicking the ball out of the area fairly early on meant that he was never going to get booked for second time handball, for time wasting. So he knew that, and when particularly in the second half, whatever it was that he had, and I said to Joe, I couldn't actually work out what injury it was that he kept repeatedly having. He would just whip his gloves off, and you see him unraveling his gloves, and it was like, oh, right, he's going to go down in a minute. He's unraveling his gloves, and then near us there was the guy that went down and then got back up again, and then he was going nearer the byline, and then he got back up again, and then like you just said, then he lost it when Son did one of them. He didn't stand really close to the free kick taker. He actually tried to kind of run away, and he actually opened his legs to try and let the ball go through, and it hit his leg because obviously the players kicked it straight at him. And it wasn't like he was standing over the ball, and he booked on for that. And that was the point. He was like, he just doesn't. And that's why I love even more the stat that Romero did not get booked in a game where we had 6 bookings. Romero was not one of them. There wasn't really a dirty challenge. I watched it back yesterday. There was one challenge, I think, on Porro, wasn't it? Porro lost the ball, and then the guy kind of turned around and kind of took him out. That's the only bad tackle I can remember, and that's too far from where I was to see it. So it's just, he had lost it. And I'm so glad that the time added on came to fruition, because it reminded me very much of Newcastle last year when it was that Premier League record of only having 50 minutes of the ball in play or something. And we just couldn't break them down. So it was such a relief that, yes, the referee had the bottle to actually add the 12 minutes on, and we managed to win in that time.
Yeah, James, what do you think of the new rules when it comes to timekeeping? Because it is an issue. Like I said, like 50 minutes of ball in play a game last season, and it was similar. I think we played Newcastle, and when they beat us, in a very similar sort of 55 minutes for a 90-minute game. Obviously, we don't want 45 minutes extra time, but there has to be some kind of recompense. There has to be. We have to try and stamp out the time wasting, which was ridiculously overt, which was so. In your face yesterday with Sheffield United, with their keeper and the defenders and all sorts of shenanigans. How do you feel about the rule change?
Well, I'd first just like to say a piece of congratulations to the referee from the game, Peter, for his acquisition of a luxury villa in the south of France after a business deal in Sheffield went quite well. So, happy for you, pal. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you don't want lots of added time, don't time waste the entire 90 minutes, right? Like it's that simple. I mean, we saw it at the World Cup. I think it's good. Some people don't like it. I can understand why Sheffield United fans probably feel a bit hard done by, but whatever. Yeah, it's good. Like you can't just have the ball in play for 40 minutes and then 3 minutes of added time, lads. I mean, ultimately, yeah, okay, we can't have 45 minutes added on, but at least if there's 7-8 minutes, it feels a bit more substantial. Because I always felt watching football, if it's 2 minutes, you think, well, game's basically done, isn't it? And they've time wasted all game. Whereas if it's 7, 8, 9 minutes, it still feels like there's a bit left to go. So, yeah, I think it's good. I can understand why some people don't like it because it's new, and football, anything new, some people just don't like.
Did they imply in commentary that it was time wasting, or did they? Because obviously I didn't really know what they said. It didn't come across in Match of the Day. They didn't even really kind of intimate that there was any they didn't really sort of show anything. But in commentary, did it kind of come across of he's down again or someone's injured again?
Brazilian commentary did. I don't know I don't have UK commentary Match of the Day and stuff, but Brazilian commentary did. They said it was a bizarre game. That was their key word, was this is really bizarre, because there was moments when it looked like we were time wasting as well. There was a couple where we went for a corner and there was a bit of confusion and it delayed.
Well, it's because the ball got through. That's when the ball got thrown back on. So the ball boys, bless them, the two ball boys in the south stand on either side were so fast to throw the ball to the players for a corner that then the crowd would chuck it back, and it happened twice. And then that's when Paul's saying about the drop ball is when it happened the second time. The ref gave the ball to the goalkeeper, and it was like,
is that the rule? Because he was saying as if it was the rule. Is that the rule?
Well, this is where he lost it, you see, because the people from the south stand were not throwing it on, while, say, for example, while Sheffield United were attacking. It was just because it went so high up the south stand, the person was trying to kind of throw it. Anyway, the second time it happened, the ball didn't go back; it stayed in. They kept it. But yeah, for that sort of part of the play, that was chaos as well, because the ball boys were just throwing it to the players too quick, and there was this kind of constant crossover of balls.
Well, on this comment, Paul from Spurs Simpsons, about Heckingbottom after the game, said that he was adjusting to new tactics and sort of saying, well, isn't that just football though? Like surely like you can't just take time to work out what the system is that the opposing team, if they're playing a high press, go long. If you can't play it, you can play to your own defenders in the box. So if the press is too high, if you can't play it, go long. You don't need to take 2 minutes per goal kick to make that decision. It was a bizarre defense of a shambolic scenes with the time wasting, Paul.
The Higginbottom's interview afterwards, I watched it a couple of times now. I don't agree with any of it. Yeah, it's utter nonsense. You can't. So what if Porro decides to go and close down a man, but then comes back again? Do we still wait for the goal? Oh, Porro's there. Like, let me just wait. He could be there for 10 minutes with the ball, adjusting to what Tottenham are doing. No, you've got the ball. You've got possession. It's in within your kind of like control to get the game going again. Split your centre backs. Okay, we come and press you, as you say, go long. If we back off your centre backs and split your centre backs and play out from the back, you're not good enough to play out from the back. It's nonsense what Higginbottom was talking about. You came with a specific plan to time waste, and and play the referee and all the things that you and Becky and James spoke about. I don't agree with anything what Higginbottom said. I think he's reaching. I think he's really reaching at that point. I do believe in this time wasting thing. Players will adjust to it. There's this big thing yesterday about Arsenal taking 27 seconds for a couple of their corners against Everton yesterday as well. And like, I don't know if there's a time clock on what you're supposed to do for corners or whatever, but it seems to be very much in the media at the moment, this whole kind of time thing. And eventually players will get used to it. Players, we're seeing less injuries, unless you're the goalie. When, I mean, Van der Ven's yellow card. I mean, the goalie walks into him. Van der Ven is 6'3". You can't miss him. Oh, look, there's Mickey Van der Ven. It's not like you're going to be surprised. He's there in front of you, right? Don't walk into him with a ball, and then Mickey Van der Ven gets a yellow card. But I think players will get used to this idea of, like, if you're going to go down and feign injuries, it will get added on, and teams will score, and it will kind of like not benefit you in the end. I think it's just a transitional period at the moment. I think it's in the media, it's on vogue, so to speak, for now, but eventually it'll become like players will just get used to it. Players don't want to play 102 minutes. Professional footballers are quite lazy. They don't want to be on there longer than they have to be. So guess what? Don't take ages for a free kick. Don't go down with a feigning an injury or a cramp or a head injury or whatever. Just get up and get on with the game.
Because I think it will be something at the Arsenal game, because I noticed, I didn't watch the Arsenal game yesterday, but people were saying that every time they went down, they would just hold their head, knowing that therefore it had to stop. And there were a couple in the Sheffield United game where they would go down and hold their legs. And it's like, well, the rule is you're not supposed to stop if it's not a head injury. But equally, I don't want to make people encouraged to just say it's always a head injury either when it's not.
There was exaggerating.
If it's Gabriel, he can stay there for head injury. So
the thing is, with a lot of the times that Sheffield United went down, they were exaggerating the contact. Like, because there was one where was it Van der Ven? I think he got booked for it as well, where he went up for the ball and Fotheringham, they clashed, but it wasn't. Yeah. It was a coming together. But because he stayed down, he got booked. Like Van der Ven got booked. There was no way that was a foul.
It was almost like everything was a first time incident was a booking. There was no sort of sense. Like my eldest is a referee, and we're trying to kind of say to him, use common sense. You know, if it's something that was really dangerous, then that's fine. But if it's someone's just being a bit clumsy, give them the benefit of doubt and then talk to them about it. There was none of that with the ref. He didn't talk to anyone, say, oh, you've got one more, like hold his whistle and go, you've got one more chance. But none of that. It was like, nope, you're done. Like Full said, you're done and booking, you go away. And he did. He'd lose. It wasn't a dirty game. It's not a 14 bookings game at all, or a sending off. You know, the fact that the guy got sent off, I do feel a bit sorry for him, really. He was just sort of showing, wasn't he, that he'd had his shirt pulled, and it was 6-1, half another. Again, didn't need to be booked for it. The ref just didn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, he lost it. I think, Heckingbottom had said it to him as well, that he did lose control, as Paul was saying. 170 people watching. Do give us a like, please. It does help us, and it supports the channel, so do give us a like. It takes you about half a second. As I watched the game back last night, because I'm a professional and I was preparing for this YouTube show. I did, and I wanted to relive it as well. But the third minute was when they started time waste. It was the first incident of time wasting. I think it was from a throw-in or it was a free kick. And as you said, it was mainly Maddison that was getting riled up by it. And I think Sonny did need to sort of speak to him, like, just chill, calm down, because he was really getting wound up. And even the first half, I think Ange said after the game that about the 12 minutes, it's like, well, we were missing 5 minutes from the first half, because Fotheringham was down for at least 5 minutes. Then you have the regular sort of addition of time minutes. It was at least 8 minutes for the first half, and he gave 3, which was, everyone was just like, what? 3 minutes? Yeah. It was just insane. On their goal though, Becky, the throw, I think it was the long throw that threw us off. It was a really good throw. It just sort of a really annoying one to defend. And there's perhaps you could point at Decky for not clearing.
Yeah, I was going to say Kulusevski for me. It was a bit like kind of Son, wasn't it, at Brentford game, wasn't it? They're just kind of not really supposed to be there, are they? And you watch it back and you're like, yeah, it's great. From where my position was, I thought I'd hit the post and come back and hit Vicario and gone in, but then when I saw it again and seen that it hadn't done, they didn't have many chances. They didn't. There was that one save I remember from Vicario in the first half with his feet, but really there wasn't really a great deal else. I love Vicario, by the way. Can I just add that in there? Absolutely love him. I was saying to somebody on Twitter yesterday. I wasn't one of the ones that criticised him in the early games, but I think because I've got goalkeepers union with Jack. But I love how passionate he is. I love how vocal he is. I said a lot that Lloris as a captain was quite a quiet captain, and Kane was a quiet captain to some extent. Yes, he would talk to the refs quite well, but he wasn't necessarily someone that he was wear his heart on his sleeve. So I love the Vicario. I love the fact that we hark back to the Burnley one where it looped over from Romero and he was like fist pumping and all of that. And then not seeing it live in the stadium, I didn't notice, but obviously watching it back on the videos and seeing Vicario run the entire length of the pitch. Very Lloris-like at Leicester away when Bergwijn scored. Runs the entire length of the pitch. Almost ends up in the south stand because he didn't put the brakes on enough. Takes out Basuma kind of on the way past and then celebrates and then runs back. And I love that. And I just think, yeah, you know, he said, didn't he say in an interview afterwards something like, oh, that was quite a calm game, or it's something really sarcastic about how he basically, it wasn't, nothing happened. But of course, he, like that save we've said all season, he's made key saves that, you know, make the game change, don't they? And I think that's going to be so key on Sunday. I think if we start well and we make a few saves and that kind of keeps morale going, crowd morale as well, I think we might, you know, if we can kind of 0-0 kind of a half time, I think we've got a really, really good chance. So I think Vicario is key to that as well. But yeah, I love him.
One thing that you made me think of there as well was like about remaining calm. Like Ange through the game, like we were used to sort of Conte running around screaming and going mental. Ange is calm as a cucumber. He doesn't really, he just arms in the air. And I think that calming influence does help. Yeah, the sort of double fist bump and with his sort of with his man boobs and stuff. He's like, yeah, go on.
Oh, Bren, just be nice, man. Just be nice.
Mate, glass houses, mate. For God's sake, look at me. But yeah, James, like, what do you make of Ange's sort of demeanour on the touchline? That sort of calming influence, I think, does sort of resonate with the players. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he said he watches a football match like a movie, which is awfully French sounding, actually.
I love the movement of the hand there, James, as well. Very French and the hand move. Yeah,
get the hand movements in, expressive dialogue. Yeah, I mean, when you've had guys like Conte who seemingly have mood swings every 30 seconds, having a guy who, even when we're behind, seems like he's in control, that's got to be good for the players. Because if the boss is losing it, then you're like, oh, what do we do? You need that bit of leadership coming from the manager. And Ange really, he signifies that. And even when we get the winner, he's like, yeah, brilliant. Good job, lads. You know, he's obviously very happy, but he's not getting carried away with himself, which I quite like as well. I mean, one of the few things I did like about Conte was if we'd have scored there, he'd have run into the stands or something. But in a way, it almost says, we got it done today, on to the next one. Good job, which I like. It's that quiet, well, not quiet, but calming leadership.
Ice cold, lots of people have put on Twitter today, haven't they? It was just kind of ice cold. And everyone, those of us that have watched, numerous videos back from all different angles. I've seen the one from the dugout where like Hill and Villies are like shaking the advertising hoarding like this. And Bentancur's trying to not spill that tea that he's holding. And then you've got Davis and Son like run down to, obviously, they're not even on the pitch and they're running down to Richarlison and Kulusevski and the chaos. We've used this before. None of them really knew. It shows how young they are, and they didn't really know who to celebrate with. And they're all sort of running in all sorts of directions, which is exactly what it was like in the stands. We were all like hugging whoever we could find, and they're all running in different directions. And Kulusevski, bless him, needs to have a celebration. He needs to do one because his celebration is just this sort of like kind of almost like angry kind of happy face, and everyone's just running all different directions. And then I've seen a lovely picture, I think, with, it might be wrong, but it's like Basuma, Udogie, Sarr, Van der Ven, and it's a great picture. And someone puts like the future, but also 3 of those players weren't even on the pitch when we scored that goal, and they all went running on as well. And it was just fantastic to see. And yeah, and Namja's just sort of standing there, and all his dugout are diving on him and running off. But at the end, like we were saying before, when they did the kind of hold hand things and run, which I was a bit like, oh, don't dive on the floor because that's a bit Klopp and Liverpool. And luckily they didn't. They just sort of dispersed, pushed Richarlison. Obviously the music's going in the crowd. By this point we're on Angels, and there's a lot of people singing the Angels song. And then Postecoglou just kind of turns up and just sort of does.
He's the proud dad, as somebody said.
He is really the proud dad. He's like, he was proper like, dad. Thanks, and he was sort of like drinking it in.
He's allowed. We talked about this before. I'm not going to repeat myself, but he's allowed these guys to express themselves, and they know what they've got to do. There's no point in him yelling at them to like tell them what to do. They know what they've got to do. They're all the framework and the systems of play. They know what they've got to do. When you're looking for some leadership and you're looking for when you're up, say City come and we're like, I don't know, 2-1, but we're in the ascendancy, and he took off the captain. He's not afraid to make these decisions and change games and leave it. I was thinking about this today as well. I wonder if he knew about the extra time, because those players came on 80 minutes. They would end up playing 25 minutes rather than 10 or 12 minutes. So maybe I think he probably knew there's going to be quite a lot of extra time. That's just really smart. That's just really, I don't know if Yednek or even Mason, one of his assistant coaches, tell him that, but he's thinking there's got to be at least 10 minutes here. So if I send someone on at 75 minutes, yes, he's got to play 25 minutes. He might not have 25 minutes in his legs. So he's thinking all the time. He's just really calm. He's a proud father. He's got a plan. He knows what he's doing. The way he spoke about Richie's situation during the week was absolutely spot on. Spot on. Didn't throw anybody under the bus. Didn't just try to explain about players being human beings as well. Yes, they're in a very privileged position and they have all of the things we'd love to have, but they still have the same issues and or even more pressure than most people. And the way he spoke about it was he's not a get out of jail free card that some people talk about for ENIC and the board. He isn't, but he's exactly what we needed at the right time. And whoever did appoint him, whether it be Levy, Donna Cullen, or even like Paratici, whatever decision came to, they've got it right. Yes, I know it's still early, but I think he's putting in, as Becky said there, he's putting in foundations. Yeah, those players are all like 22, 23 years old. They're all like loving life. They're together. The superstar, so to speak, is gone. It's down to them now. He's kind of given them agency to like play. And I think, Enid can... I've got to be congratulated a little bit about that, but Ange, it's just that kind of nice, calm demeanor is brilliant, and it's obviously paid dividends. Sorry to go on this.
No, it's good. I'll sort of carry on from that. You're right. It's his emotional intelligence. He really does. He's just a normal guy, like a smart guy. Loves football, communicates incredibly well. And he did say, you're right, he did say in the post-match, I think it may have been with Spurs play with or one of them, but he did say, look, I knew there'd be at least 10 minutes extra time, so that was why I delayed the subs a little bit. And he also said, I think this was Spurs play, he's like, when the limbs were on the bench, the crowd is like, you were just cool as a cucumber. He's like, look, I was planning the back four. So he was already, like, when that second goal went in, he was like, right, we need to reorganize the defense now. We've been playing two at the back for the last 20 minutes. We need to sort that out. So he's just like, love the guy. He can do no wrong. I do love the guy. Couple of bits. Brennan Johnson, James, as our resident Welshman. What did you make of his cameo?
I think he's gotten unlucky there because he's had two, for the goal, the offside goal. What a touch, what a run, what a finish. I mean, that was just superb. Had me standing up and jumping a little bit. And that's what Brennan Johnson can really offer. And shows that Rob Page should be immediately never allowed to go to a Welsh football game ever again for his horrible misutilisation of him.
Yeah. You're not a fan of Page. We got that last time, yeah.
No. Imagine Nuno managing Spurs for several years. That's basically Rob Page. But no, that's what he's going to offer, right? That sort of run late on in games, and just in general, that sort of play. I think he also got unlucky because the goal he set up that was disallowed for a foul, even though I don't think it was a foul. I think he got a bit unlucky there. It could go either way, sort of thing, that one. So, arguably, he nearly had two, a metre difference and a different 50-50 call. Well, he's had two goal contributions in about 20 minutes. That's not bad, is it? And he offers something completely different on that right flank. He's way faster and I think more direct than Kulu. And he's a bit more, I'd say Kulu's a much more central player. He's a lot more wide, if that makes sense. So it's good to have that little bit of dynamicness in that position. But yeah, I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, Paul, what did you... Go on, Vicky.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'm sure lots of people have seen the aerial shot of him and everyone's saying it's like, it's just Dele-esque, the way he took it down, the way he kind of flicked it over, and even the way he ran away. And I sort of, and because we've got like gifs of Dele when they wore like the kit with the kind of blue sort of bit around the neck. It's almost identical. And I thought even in his interview after the game, he sounded a little bit like him in his kind of mannerisms. And he was sort of saying about, you know, it was like a dream to play here and to play in that game and to be part of that game. It's like what young players want to do. And I thought, wow, he even sounds like him. So it's really exciting.
Just reminded me as well, actually, sort of, because it sometimes you can make comparisons too much with players like we do with Bissouma and Dembele, for example. But Manor Solomon, I know who I'm thinking he reminds me of. I'll start with you, Becky. Who does Manor Solomon remind you of? Ex-Spurs player. The way he receives the ball, the way he runs.
I can see him, but I can't remember his name.
I'll come back to you. Paul?
Aaron Lynn.
Yeah, 100%. It's just the way he runs. He's got that ability. It's the way he receives.
Low centre of gravity as well.
Low centre of gravity. He's really. I thought he played well yesterday.
He's a terrier. He does this lovely thing, like he'll feint like 2 kind of small steps towards the ball, and then he'll cut away and try and go beyond his marker. I do think sometimes we can release the ball a bit quicker, a bit longer, a bit more direct for someone like a Brennan Johnson because he's a speedster, or Manuel Solomon, or even Son if he's playing out wide. I think sometimes we do forget that we can be a bit more direct and a bit over the top. Yeah, it's a bit Route 1. Yeah, it's not the crazy gang in Wimbledon, but it's we can hear. Manuel Solomon does a lovely kind of like feint to come to the ball, then goes wide. I really like him, and Ange, as I said at the top of the show, Brennan Johnson to me is a player that you bring on or even start with when you know that you're not going to get a lot of the ball. And he's going to tuck in, he works hard. I watched the game against Korea, the Welsh game, James, last week, and wasn't brilliant, but he worked really, really hard. And as you say, he's played a little bit out of position. He's prepared to put a shift in. When I saw him at Forest last season, he works very, very hard for the team as well. But with that pace, if you can just like lift that ball over top of the defense and let him run onto it, and we haven't had the ball for like 5 or 6 minutes against a City, for example, or somebody like that, then that's really, really, really useful. I thought he linked up with Kulusevski a few times quite nicely. Those little triangles we spoke about 10, 15 minutes ago, I thought he did that really well. I was underwhelmed by him at Forest last season. Watched him a little bit of Wales because Big Joe Rodon plays for Wales. Watched a lot of Rodon, as you know, and I thought, yeah, Johnson's all right. He's functional. He's good. He could play higher than Forest. But yeah, the way he took that ball at the weekend and the way just like the very calm, release that ball a second quicker, and that's a goal. It's fine margins at elite sport, but he's gonna have a run. He's gonna have a run of games, and he's gonna prove useful. I think personally. Our forward options are as best. Okay, we haven't got Kane as the best striker in the world at the minute, but we have got 2 decent players for each of the forward positions. Plus, we've still got Hill to come back as well. It's good. It's looking all right up front. It's looking okay. It's looking well. No.
We were happy to receive a chat here. Was it called again? Special chat?
Super chat.
Super chat. Thank you. Sorry, it's been a while since I was on YouTube. Thank you, Jeff, for your super chat. I'm assuming that's Canadian. So hello to Canada. I'm in Brazil. We're all over the world. Richarlison, a good fit for us with the Ange game system. So Becky, I think again, Ange has shown sort of flexibility in how we play. I think it depends on the opponent. I thought Richarlison would probably have been a good bet to start against Sheffield United, knowing that they'll play a low block. Didn't leave much Son for space to run in, Son to run in behind. So this looked like a game where you'd want sort of Richarlison in the middle to get on the end of headers and on the end of balls in. But do you think Richarlison has a future?
Maybe he's thinking. I agree. I really thought that's what was going to happen, but I think maybe because he had all the travelling with Brazil that he thought that he would be more useful towards the end of the game. I said yesterday on Twitter that I really see him and Perisic as working together. Is that almost every time Richarlison's going to be playing, Perisic is going to be playing, because like I alluded to before, just the amount of assists that Perisic has done while he's been here is kind of gone under the radar. Really, people kind of forgotten how like there were times when he was interplaying with Son last year and how much Perisic has really done. And I just think, like I said, the way he took the corner and Richarlison was there, I think I sort of see those as a 2. going back to what you're saying about Johnson, I really thought that it would be Kulusevski would come off and Brent Johnson would come on. So to see Kulusevski remains on shows that, like I said before, there's all these sort of different interconnects that sort of play and who goes where. And they, like Porro said, he will play wherever he's told to play, and they know that that's kind of their responsibility. But yeah, I think Richarlison, I agree, he was that person who was going to be there for sort of, you know, for crosses and headers and things, and because he would have been awkward, you know, he would have gotten, you know, even when I saw him when he came on, he was like standing in front of the goalkeeper and he was doing all that kind of like busy stuff. Against Arsenal, is that going to work to our advantage, or is he going to, you know, maybe like he did at Liverpool a little bit, get too kind of emotional? Is the kind of the situation going to kind of overtake him, or is he actually going to rise to it? Because I thought in Liverpool away he played really well. So yeah, I think it's good to know that it's great that we said this before. We can't really predict the lineup. I know Ange does tend to sort of start games with the team that started the game before, but it's also good to know that, you know, I'm just reading the chat. People are saying, "Oh, is Johnson going to start? Is Richarlison going to start? Is Son going to go on the left, or is Solomon going to start on the left?" And apart from maybe the midfield and maybe the defence now, hoping that Porro's not injured and Royal only came on because he was tiring at the end for Porro. It's only really the front line. We can't kind of decide who's going to be put where.
Well, it's good to have the options, as Paul said. James, do you think Richarlison? For me, I don't think we will start Richarlison. I think that against Arsenal, just because we know that they like to play, they like to bring the ball out, and that they will be playing a high line against our high line. So it does leave space for people like Son and Saka for them to get in behind and do the cutbacks. So what do you think of Richarlison's chances to play, or at least play maybe an impact sub against Arsenal?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's every possibility he'll come off the bench. I don't think he'll start just because they're going to play a high line, and ultimately with a high line, you know, we want as much pace in the front line as possible, and Son is brilliant in those sorts of situations. You know, maybe you could say it's a tad harsh because he scored a good goal, you know, turned into prime Brazilian Ronaldo for that header. But I don't think tactically he necessarily fits up against Arsenal all that well. So I think the correct move would be to play Son. But equally, you know, if it's 0-0 sort of thing, he offers a completely different threat. He is very good aerially, and maybe that goal's given him a bit of a boost and he's going to feel a bit better. You know, like, ultimately it depends what Ange's frontline plan is, because you could equally play Brennan Johnson as opposed to Kulusevski, right? There's lots of options. I think Kulu would make more sense because he's better at ball retention. But, you know, if he's thinking, well, they're going to play a high line, let's have two really quick wingers and Richie. Maybe that's what he does. So, you know, the fact that we have in the discussion is positive, because I could see that working. I could see what we started against Sheffield, Time Waster United starting. So that both make sense.
Well, Paul, one thing I just thought of is perhaps it can happen. Maybe the Goons go one up, and towards the end of the game, they're sitting further and further back, protecting their lead. That's when Richarlison may have an impact. Is that fair?
I think Jeff's super chat question was, does he fit Ange Ball? Richarlison does fit Ange Ball. He does fit Ange Ball.
Presses really well.
Really, really well, mate. He does make things happen, and he attacks the ball really, really well. I mean, the space there was just behind the front post for the goal he scored at the weekend. He attacked it really well. Space was there, and he got a great flick on, and he timed the jump really well. I mean, he lost the man. That's great centre forward play. Son is not making that. Son is not scoring that goal, in my opinion. He doesn't score goals like that. That's not Son's game. So if you're going to have good crosses of the ball, I'm kind of echoing a little bit both what James and Becky said. If you're going to have good crosses on the ball, on the field of the ball, in people like Ivan Perisic for 15-20 minutes, then you have to put Richie in there, or you have to flood the box with headers of the ball. People like Højbjerg who get in on a third man run, or someone like Bissouma or Bentancur as well is very good with his head if he comes back in October, November time. It's all dependent if Richie plays with. I think you've just got to supply the ball. You can't just be cutting in and trying to take shots yourself. You've got to deliver the ball for him to attack. You're not going to do that with Son, with Saliba in the middle at the weekend. But if they are playing a high line and then you know, we get the ball and Odegaard's committed and, you know, Declan Rice is out of position, I can see Son on his bike. James, you said Brent Johnson, that threaded inside ball through past Ben White, and then somebody just absolutely creaming him and then just like scoring. I can see something like that happening. Richie does fit Ange to answer the guy's question, but it all depends. One, we're going to have a lot of the ball, i.e. we're dominating, and if we've got crosses on the field. If we don't have those two things, then it's Son every time for me.
Well, we're going to do a preview of the Arsenal game later on in the week, but we'll do a quick little mini one now. Becky, how are you feeling ahead of it? Like, I saw Arsenal play Everton. I saw most of the game yesterday. They played okay. Everton are quite stodgy. They're relegation fodder. They got the 1-0 and they probably just about deserved it. But I look at our team and look man for man against their team, and I've got no fear, but I'm not nowhere near as sort of dreading of the game as I was, say, a year ago or even 6 months ago.
We don't have a good record, do we? There, and they don't necessarily have a good record at ours. So I just want us to have a go. You know, we said about last year, you know, Royal getting sent off sort of changed the game. Yes, we got the penalty that Kane scored. I said this last week. I want it to be a game that's, you know, whoever wins for the right reasons, and it isn't a dodgy VAR or someone gets sent off, or, you know, like on Saturday the refs just lost it. I want it to be, you know, I take a draw, absolutely take a draw. We have it in us to win. Like I said before, I just think we have to start well, kind of, you know, first sort of 30 minutes, you know, it'd be great to score early, but I just kind of keep things fairly tight. And then, you know, anything is possible, but I'd certainly take a draw. It's more the Liverpool game I kind of think we've got a chance, because we're going to play very similar ways. It's weird that we're playing two teams that have both got Europe, so we have got the advantage of not playing Europe in between these games. But both teams that will play them, we've got exactly the same record so far. We've all won and drawn the same games. Plays very similar way, kind of like you said, high line and quite attacking, and so they're not going to be 0-0 those two games. But yeah, I'd take a draw, definitely.
Yeah, James, what's your feeling? Have you seen much of the Goons this season?
Yeah, I mean, they're still playing the way they were last season. They're having one fullback invert, having the back line typically White tuck into a back three, then having a box of four midfielders, essentially. It is interesting. I think our big strength against them will be the fact that they are very narrow. So on the break, there's going to be a lot of space to attack, especially when you've got guys like Solomon, you know, Son, you know, even Kulu. There's a lot of space to run into. I think Ange is going to have to switch up what we're doing, because we've been inverting both our fullbacks all season, which it would be a risky play. It would essentially be trying to match up man to man and just beat them at their own, what they've been doing longer than we have. So I think he won't do that. I think you'll see perhaps even an Emerson come in just for a little bit more defensive solidity, and maybe only inverting one fullback, and then we let Destiny offer a bit more width just so we can attack that space. I think we have a better chance than we've had for quite a while, provided we don't have a silly red card or something like we did last year. Because I think tactically we're better than them. My only worry is obviously we're going away to the Emirates, and we typically don't do very well at the Emirates. So I think ultimately we can get a draw. Maybe we can win. It's one of those ones. I think it's going to be a balanced game. I don't think either team's I don't think we're going to get battered. I don't think we'll batter them. But I think, yeah, I'd predict a draw, like a 2-2.
So Jazz Jones in the comments agrees with you. Paul, how are you feeling ahead of this one? It's as I said, it's a strange feeling for me. I'm looking forward to it, and I normally dread away at the Goons.
This is our first major test of the season.
Yeah.
Man United, they weren't very good. Destiny Dogie against Saka, I think that'll be a really good matchup. I know people rate Saka. I rate Saka as well, but he looked poor yesterday I watched the Everton game yesterday as well. He looked poor. Martinelli went off, and they brought on Vieira, who was awful. So
no, it was Trossard. Vieira started.
Excuse me, Trossard. Yeah, Trossard scored as well. Really nice finish. Trossard is quick. I think I'm with James. I would put. Sorry, he's tricky. He's not quick. I'm with James. I'd play Royale rather than Burrow at this point, just for a bit more defensive solidity. I would go. It's going to be much or much. They'll probably put Declan Rice on James Maddison, and we'll probably put Papa Matasar on someone like Martin Odegaard. And therefore, I think it's about anybody else who can create stuff while those guys are out the game. I think it'll be tight. I think I'm like Becky. I want us just to compete. I'm not getting carried away with this season. We certainly, we're looking good. This game might have come on maybe a couple of months too early. Maybe we'd like to play around Christmas. I don't know, but as long as we compete and we put up a good kind of Ange type performance, which we know, and players play as near as they can to their ceiling, and we compete and we play well, and we just don't fold and capitulate, then I'll be happy. I'm confident we can get a draw, a win. Who knows? Son might curl one from outside of the box. Kula might cut back inside and shape one, drop his left shoulder and shape one into the corner. We don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. Like you, Brennan, I'm genuinely looking forward to the weekend. I didn't get a ticket, I unfortunately, but it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock kickoff. It's quite early, so bring it on.
The thing I will say is all the pressure's on them. They'd have to be expected to win. Plus, they've got a midweek Champions League match, so then they're going to have less rest, less prep time. We've got a whole week. Antonio Conte will love this season, wouldn't they? We can go there, and as much as any North London derby can be, it is basically a free hit for us, because I don't think anyone is expecting us to win. If we go there and we battle and we lose, I don't think any of us are going to be too disheartened. But equally for them, if we get a result, that's going to seriously knock their confidence. So I think, we can look into the game, we can set up our match plan, and then we can just kind of go and say, whatever happens, let's try and win, which they can't do.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a really, really good matchup, and I think we can win. I genuinely do. I think there's a new belief that there's a new, as we've seen in the game just on the weekend, this team does not stop. We don't stop. We'll stop at half-time, and at full-time we'll be celebrating. Is it that what he said?
Enjoy your lunch.
Enjoy your lunch. Right. So, James, you're saying 2-2. Becky, what's your prediction?
I was going to say 2-2, really. 1-1, but I'd take a draw. I've said love if we win, but 1-1 I'll go for.
Cool.
I'm going to go for a 3-3 draw, an absolute thriller with Pape Matasar drilling one in the 98th minute because Gabriel, their centre back, has gone down clutching his eyebrows or something like that for 10 minutes, and he annoys me. He really annoys me, that guy.
Are we going to have our first penalty this season? We haven't had a penalty yet. Keep having this conversation about who's going to take penalties.
That's a good point. I also don't think Romero will get booked. That's my confident take. Mickey van der Ven gave away his first his first foul, and he got booked for that, what we talked about earlier. But Romero's been an angel. I mean, some of that stuff they were trying at the weekend, that was like, he would have put his head in there and he would have been shouting at them and all sorts. But he didn't. He kept it really calm. I think he'll play well. I think the defense is looking pretty solid, but Saka might, a doggy. That's going to be a good contest. 3-3 to answer your question, mate. 3-3.
Oh, wow. See, I'm going to go with a 2-1 win. I think we'll win.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brendan McGee.
I don't know why. I've been disappointed. Well, I've been Spurs fans for 40 years, so obviously I've been disappointed regularly. It's an abusive relationship I have with this football club. But I just, I don't know. I'm confident. I really can't wait to watch the game. I love watching us play, and it's been a while since we've been able to say that. But
it did feel a long time, didn't it? The international break. I don't know about the three of you, but that international break was interminable. It did feel a long time. I was thinking that when I was walking up to the ground on Saturday. I came out of Seven Sisters, and it was like really nice and sunny. Headphones in. It was like, God, I've missed this, and it felt like ages, that international break. So I'm with you. Unfortunately, we're at the cup competitions and no Europe, so it's like once every 7 days, and you have to wait. But patience is a virtue, isn't it, Bren? So maybe it's good for me. But yeah, that international break, I'm glad it's over. But we've got another one in a couple of weeks, unfortunately. But
it did feel like a very long time. I had
Yeah.
the exciting football matches of 0-0 against Korea and a 2-0 win against Latvia. You know, just the pinnacle of football. You know, move over El Clasico. We had that. So that was fun. I'm just glad Spurs are back. Oh.
I'm glad we were back without any injuries. When I saw that challenge on Romero, I was like, Jesus, is because his knee sort of buckled a bit as well. It was really hot. It was a bit more force, and that's a broken leg or a dislocated or an ACL or whatever. And Ange after the game did actually say that Romero was feeling it a bit after the international, because Romero plays through injury. He's that sort of player.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying as well about his maturity, you're spot on. There was a video of him, I don't know who put it on Twitter, but where Emerson Royale was getting into Mustang Sally's face. What's his name? Davies. Mustang Sally used to be at Everton with the ponytail. Looks like the guy from The Commitments. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But he was getting in his face.
Davis is called, isn't he? Isn't he called Davis?
Tom
Davis, yeah, Davis. So, something Davis.
Mustang Sally.
Mustang Sally. But he was getting in his, and then Romero was just pulling him away. He was just like, I think it was at full time. Was it full? Have you seen the clip, Becky?
Yeah. I think it wasn't at full time, but it was very close to. So he's doing the kind of chest pumping, isn't he, with Royal, and then Royal sort of walks past, and Romero just sort of puts his arms around him and pushes everywhere, and everyone at the bottom is like, he is a changed man. Yeah. That would never have happened last year.
It wouldn't have done. He would have pulled a guy's ponytail, Cucurella style. He would have given him one of them, wouldn't he? And then shouted in his face like he shouted in Martinez's face when he scored the own goal. Like, no, you're right, Becky. He's a changed character, and he's not put a foot wrong. He's timing his runs really well, and he's not going walkabouts. And I went on record last season thinking he's really got to do a lot to like bring me back round, because there's a great player there, as we know, before the World Cup, and he wasn't at it last season, and then it came out a rumor, was it last week, that if Conte had stayed, then he would have pushed for a move and stuff. And I had a hard time when I first heard that, believing it, but thinking about it, there's probably a better truth to that. And I just thought, now, but he's brought me right back round. But then I'm fickle, so who knows? But he's that him and Van der Ven are just they are very good. They are very good.
A fickle football fan, wonders never cease. There was that graphic as well about our central defenders, Becky. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter as well. The ages.
I'll read it. I've got it on my phone. I'll read it out.
Sorry.
Yeah. So those of us that were there for Sheffield United last season, which was like the turning point. I know Bentancur getting injured was a big deal, but those of us that were there, that will live long in the memory for the wrong reasons. So in March, the defence was, including the goalkeeper. So Forster was 35, Sanchez was 27, Dyer was 29, Davis was 30. Skip also played. Seem to forget about Skip. And Sunday, Vicario, who's 26, Porro, who's 24, Romero, who's 25, Van der Ven's 22, and Dodgy is 20. So when you kind of see it like that, how different, the ages of them, and it's just, and like we said before, only Romero was playing last season.
So,
crazy.
So who's the oldest starter now? Is it Son?
Yeah, and Perisic, but Son was
okay. And Perisic might be going in January, because we did that Hajduk split for the kid.
That deal.
A fortnight ago. So,
but if you think back to the Sheffield United game, the way at the FA Cup, how the defence was just deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and very slow and lethargic. And then, like you said before about the speed of the defence now and playing so much further up the pitch, and very different. Yeah,
you were saying as well about the Hajduk split there. So Viskovic, like 16. Again, look at the players that we signed. Look at the age profile. The Blackburn guy, whose name's escaped me, help me. The really tall defender that we just signed for Blackburn.
Not Williams. No, I know you're talking about.
Forgotten his name.
Go on.
We'll get it in the end. Put it on the spot there. Are you banning everyone from the chat, James? Is that you?
Yeah, there was a series of trolls, so I was just trying to clean it up a bit. Yeah, look at me being a good background member of the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashley Phillips, Brent.
Ashley Phillips, thank you. Jeez, it was just my mind went blank. But again, he's what, 18, and he's appearing on the bench, you know. So it's all looking good. The profile is changing. Let's look to wrap things up, guys. We've been going for an hour and 15 almost. So unless anyone has anything else to add.
No, just a bit gutted for Spence getting injured in Leeds today. He can't catch a break, can he? He's done his ligaments in his knee, I think.
Oh yeah, Daniel
Seriously.
Clark.
But yeah, great show. Looking forward to Arsenal, like you said. It's not something we tend to do. I'm looking forward to Liverpool again. I think the atmosphere is going to be absolutely crazy. I think he does get a bit of a free pass, provided we don't get beat like 6-0 on Sunday. I think we kind of hope for the best, and but then we get on Liverpool the week after, back at home with the trumpet again and the drum and everything. Liverpool is going to be fun, I think.
That is the only concern, is that we leave too much space at the back. If we're going for it, if we have to, if we're 1-0 down and we leave the space back. We saw Gabriel Jesus got his one against Man United for exactly that. They were pushing up, trying to equalise. He broke, did the little cut inside, little shimmy, and they won. But then Man United are dog rubbish. I don't want to swear.
Van de Ven could give Gabriel like a 5-minute head start and not get up to like third gear and still catch him. So yes, it's fine. It's fine. Mickey Van de Ven's pace is an absolute game changer for a defender if you can recover. And okay, as long as he's not somebody like Haaland, but I think Romero is going to have him in his back pocket, and Van de Ven will tidy up. Yeah, the defense I think is decent, Brent. It really is. It's aggressive. It's also very clean as well, as in it wins the ball cleanly as well. Van de Ven, he's got great feet. Romero tackles really, really hard, but very cleanly. He's not being booked yet, as Becky was saying. So yeah.
Well, just thank you to everyone. Thanks everyone in the chat about the Ashley Phillips thing. So thank you, Darren, Kevin, Adrian, and Cameron for. I didn't actually think to look at the chat, and you guys were all there. It's Kevin Phillips. It's Ashley Phillips, not Kevin Phillips. Ashley Phillips. I'm seeing Kevin there as well.
From Sunderland.
All right, it's gone to pot. Let's call it a day. Becky, thank you for joining.
All right, thanks for having me on. I'll see you next Monday. Hopefully, talking about a decent game, and a game where we did ourselves justice and turned up and gave it a go, and hopefully. But thanks. It's been great. Thanks for hosting.
Great. Oh, thank you, James. Thanks for joining, mate.
Pleasure to be on. I actually have to watch the game with an Arsenal fan, so hopefully we bat them. I'm going to go back for my dinner and off to the pub. Pleasure to be on as ever.
After a 5-hour nap, to be a student again. Paul, thanks for joining.
5-hour nap, comes on, does a YouTube, has a little bit of dinner, and then goes back down the pub.
I'll have you know, actually, I had a very stressful morning. I had to sit and listen to a talk. Then I had to go down to the snooker club and practice for a couple of hours. So, it's been a tough day for me personally.
Christ almighty. No, Brendan, bloody hell. No, it's been good. I know I've done the pod at the weekend and this, but been very nice to talk to everybody. And thanks for all the nice comments in the chat and stuff. So, enjoyed it, mate. Thanks very much.
Cool, mate. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And do please give it a like. It does help the channel. There'll be another show out on Wednesday from Gibbo, Craig, and the crew. And on Friday from Caller. And rest of the Aussie crew, I think, will be joining Caller. So do look out for those shows. That will be the full Arsenal preview. This was the little taster as we finished up the review of the Sheffield United game. There will be a pod out as well midweek for the Arsenal preview as well, which is still need to sort out. I'll have a word with you, Paul. And thank you for watching. And as ever, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, Spurs.